Hey everyone, welcome to Grow the High. We're talking about indica, sativa, and genetics. I'm with TJ. Hey TJ.
Hello, Joey.
So today we're going to be talking about something I know that everyone is questioning. Even the customers are questioning, right? So let's just start off with the main question. What's the main difference, or if there are differences between indica and sativa? Why do we
Uh,
even have two strains? What are the differences?
so there's sativas and indicas are like the main strain types. They are more but for the most part, people only categorize them those two because the other ones are kind of like subcategories of sativa and indicas. And it seems, at least to me, that a lot of it is based off of the type of effects that it has.
Okay.
Um,
So like
uh,
these are like the same plant, two different plants? Like how different
yeah,
are these?
yeah. So they'd be like comparing one type of house cat to another, like a tortoiseshell to like a
Gotcha.
Maine Coon. Like they have their own distinct look for
Okay.
each strain, their
If
own sets of terpenes. But terpenes aren't exclusive to either sativa or indica.
so if you're just looking at a plant, can you tell if
hmm
it's indica or sativa?
Um, there's been ways people have said that they can. I believe. Don't quote me on this. But I believe sativas have like pointier leaves than indicas, where
Oh.
indicas are more rounded. Like I said, don't quote me on this. I believe I've heard this. Um, other things, later on in the plant's life, sativas tend to be taller. They tend to take a little bit more time to grow.
So
And
in the
indicas,
growing stage, if you were able to watch it, then you could tell?
long enough. I
Okay.
mean, like it's pretty late in the game, so it's I wouldn't necessarily consider it, a good way to decide because you gotta, basically wait till it's in adulthood.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
So so I mean like this to if they see they're described like two different plants to me, right?
hmm.
Is it just those two? Is there a third?
Well, there's a few others. I don't recall their names at the top of my head, but I've read in my textbook that there was a few other categories, and basically they're just like specific types of indicas and sativas. They're not called either, but they're just subcategories. So like all plants, all of them for like market purposes, kind of get divided into sativa or indica.
So we might have they had them, but we just don't know.
Yeah, we just don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, we wouldn't know. They wouldn't market it as that.
Is there a
Um,
reason why, or is it really just that it's close to indica, or it is an indica, it is a sativa?
yeah, it's they're close. They do have specific traits, I believe. But otherwise they're just like subcategories of sativa or indica. So they mostly follow either sativa or indica, and
So the effects are like one of the main reasons we choose between indica or sativa, right? Uh,
yeah.
Now one of the most common things you hear about indica is indica in the couch. Is that real?
To an extent. A lot of them, like I said before, terpenes aren't specific to sativa or indica. The amount may change, which then coincides with the THC to give you a desired effect.
So the
So
terpenes work with the THC?
yeah,
What do the
the
terpenes do to the THC?
they kind of that's getting a little bit outside of my
we we we
expertise.
did talk
It's
about this last time,
yeah,
right? We mentioned that
yeah,
it can affect the
yeah.
THC's
So
potency
so
even
the
sometimes.
Yeah, so each terpene, um, you know, comes and has its own kind of effect. Like there's one that is anti-inflammatory, there's one that's antimicrobial, and then there's things like pain relief, stuff like that, the euphoric feeling.
Antimicrobial. You're telling
Yeah,
me it can protect itself better?
yeah.
And do people
And
breed for
and
that?
you in I wouldn't.
Okay.
I think terpene research is too new that most growers, and this is just my speculation. I have no proof. I just want to be clear. I'd assume most people grow based off of popularity, and you know, then indica sativa would be kind of like a secondary question you ask yourself
and,
because of like I said, the duration of the grow.
and if you had to just eyeball it, what
Mhm.
would you say is more preferred amongst people, indica or sativa?
At least in my experience in the industry with like products, sativas tend to be more popular, at least
Really?
around me.
I'm an indica
Um,
guy, but why
yeah.
sativa?
A lot of people, at least word of mouth from what I've heard from a few customers is that a lot of them don't want to be slummed. They still want to do
Oh,
things. A
okay.
lot of people, are social like that. So like
So
indicas,
it's more of a daily life thing for them now. I used to think
mhm.
people were like, oh, I need to take a nap, or I need to get some sleep, or I need to
Mhm.
just chill, and
Oh, that yeah, that
now
happens
you're
as
telling
well.
me it's I need to be up and about.
Yeah, some people, like to still do things, while high, or when you're at like a social event, you don't want to be slumped around everyone while everyone's talking and whatnot. So I'd imagine a lot of people who like social interactions like that would probably prefer sativas. Though there is kind of like a mixed thing about sativas because sativas tend to have um more like paranoid type side effects sometimes depending on
Oh,
the individual.
interesting.
So like sativas tend to be a
So if
lot of
you're the
people's
type,
favorites, but it's also the reason why a lot of people won't smoke weed.
I see. So we all hear those stories, right? I know a lot of people who've come to me and said like, I can't do that anymore. Or, it gives me anxiety. Do
Yeah.
you think that that might not have happened if they had another strain?
Yeah, probably.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So it
I
goes
mean,
that
I don't
deep.
know that for sure.
Hmm.
But I'd imagine
So
because,
definitely not for all cases. Some of them
I've
got to be cracked with
definitely
paranoia.
the paranoia super often, but there's a strain or two that's done it to me. Um,
So you
so
mentioned
mhm.
like the demand. Now, are we saying that the way that people, like you said, choose to grow, is that really off just the straight demand, or is it ever because like one's easier
Well,
than the other?
so there's multiple factors that come in. There's popularity, demand. Um, there's also growing competitions put strain names on the map a lot of
Oh, true.
times.
Okay,
So, depending on who did well and what strain they grew,
and that's still
that
popularity, right?
could
That's
that
a
yeah, that it still fall under popularity,
interesting.
yeah, for sure. But like it's something that, what changes popularity sometimes. Um,
So then, and like hybrids, right?
mhm.
So now, how are these guys making hybrids? Like, what is it? Is it with a purpose in mind, or they just banging two bucks
Um,
together and just
I'd
trying to see how it
imagine
is?
a lot of it's trial and error. Just the growing aspect of it is so typically, you grow a batch of a particular strain. And then like the best one out of it, you'd want to make like a mother plant, clone it, and whatnot.
Hmm.
And then you'd have to, also find another male of, uh, you know, a different strain. And then if you like that genetics, breed it to the point, it has the genetics you want, and also being a male.
Is it
Uh,
pure luck, or is there some like I'll probably get the right things I want?
well, so it's part nature, part nurture, and
Okay.
then a little bit of luck because it's genetics. So,
This has to be a little
um,
bit costly then.
yeah, depending on what it is, because it's like, just based off how the recessive and dominant genes work. If the gene you're looking for is, recessive, you need both of the parents to carry that gene.
Interesting.
Um,
Right.
so in that
So let's
perspective, it takes a lot of tries sometimes.
that's a good segue into another question that's I guess really important to people, like testing. What
Mhm.
can people test for a lot of these things? Like one, I guess, for something like what kind of plant, what kind of
What strain
marijuana do
is
I
it?
have? Yeah, but do I have indica or
Mhm.
sativa? And then two, these genetic things that you're talking about, something like if it'll be recessive traits or dominant traits.
Mhm.
Can that be
Um,
genetically tested? Can that be tested by labs today?
um, I I'd assume I don't know for sure. I'd assume the recessive dominant they could test for.
Okay.
I don't know that for sure. Um, but
But we still need to know like what trait
yeah,
is like for what
yeah,
thing,
yeah.
right?
I mean, I'd
This is out
imagine
of my league, boys.
it's very
I'm
costly
so away
to
from biology.
actually find it. I'd imagine it's possible. I don't think people would do it.
Okay.
Um, I'd imagine most people, like
So can we
99%, would go through
identify
the
a
trial error.
strain?
You definitely can't tell whether it's sativa or indica based on off of genetics.
Okay.
Um, now, you might be able to find its lineage, um, but even that I'm not unsure of. I don't think there's no like distinguishable genetic traits between the two
So
that
so
set
then
them apart so much that it would be like that's sativa, that's an indica.
what do the experts do? Like how do they compare strains?
So they test for THC potency, the terpenes, and then the general health of the bud.
Then what
Um,
about in competitions? Like do they ever like back check if they're claiming a strain's a strain, or do they just check how you performed in the
that I
competition?
don't. That I'd imagine they'd it'd be based off competition, so they'd probably check like
Huh.
the health, the certain they they'd they'd base your plant based off of the known recorded traits of that strain, I'd imagine.
Interesting. Wait, do you gotta tell?
So
Wait, then do you have to tell it what two strains you used to breed it?
probably well, oh, if you're doing like your own thing, ooh,
Like,
I
is
ooh,
that like
see
secret
that brings
information
up a
that you
question.
might not want to give
No, no,
ever?
I
No.
don't think so. Cause
Okay.
it's like, cause technically you can patent a strain. So if you prove that you're the first one to do this, you can patent it, and I don't think anyone else is allowed to breed those two specific strains
No
together.
way.
I'm
Really?
not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure
I will.
that's how the
Okay,
patent
we'll
works.
look into that. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
If you guys can look
Um,
into it, get a comment down below. And if it's
but
real,
but
holy
there's
cow!
also it's also like
It kind of makes
maybe
sense.
you can still
Kind
do those two strains,
of
but
makes
you'd
sense.
have to focus like yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
So
Yeah,
so
I have to look more into that on how they
so
really enforce the patent on that.
if there's some level of at least to the consumer, if there's some level of like honor system, because how does a consumer test to see if something's indica or sativa? They just have to smoke it
Yeah, they
or
kind of have
ingest it or
to.
whatever, and then kind of feel the effects, and that's kind of
Mhm.
like the best they got.
Yeah, I mean, it's that. I mean, there is somewhat of an honor system, I don't think people are really gonna try and abuse it in a way. Like I don't particularly see like a reason why someone would lie. I
Yeah,
can understand
definitely not
certain
in a
circuits.
medical, but in a
Yeah.
recreational, I don't know. I feel like that's just easy pickings. You got some low shelf stuff that you got some empty jars in the high shelf.
Oh well, I mean, you do
And then
have to
just like,
send
you
it
know what?
in for grading. So like the quality of it, you
Oh,
in the business,
true,
you do
true,
send
true.
in a lab.
That's right.
So like you wouldn't be able to sell low quality stuff as high quality stuff
That's true.
per
So it's
se.
really just like is it what it is as far as
Yeah,
strain?
yeah.
True, true, true. And honestly,
Uh,
at the retail level, that's so hard because like they already get. I mean, like maybe it's not hard, but like I feel like they get stuff from the manufacturers prepackaged, and it's kind of like already labeled from the manufacturer from the
yeah.
pure bud. I maybe while they're putting it in jars and stuff, maybe then it's an opportunity. But like, yeah,
Mm.
very interesting because I would have
Yeah.
assumed that the experts had like guaranteed they had some in hand small kit, that they're like, oh,
Mm.
we're just getting stuff from these guys. We're handing out to people. Some of the medical, shouldn't we be making sure? But like, I guess it's an honor system, at least
Yeah.
up the chain.
Yeah, the names is honor system. It's quality and
True. That's the
whether
most
it's safe
important.
to ingest, the actual like important thing to most people is actually tested for. Um
So so
so
so these things that like, I guess not the genetics, but like the terpenes, like are
mhm.
these are from your genetics, right? Like which terpenes and whatnot. So
Yeah.
that also is like basically indica and sativa have like different, generally, like some different terpenes that make them obviously
Yeah,
indica
so they
sativa,
have like
maybe.
trending, and it's a lot about quantity
Can you use the
of the
terpenes to
terpene.
identify indica sativa?
No, because they're not
Okay.
exclusive to sativa or indica. Um, they also like, I mean, like, there's ones that will trend more in the other than it does in the the later, but
Oh, wait, I have a question.
mhm,
Then when you're saying like, so hybrids, right? Are there
mhm.
ever hybrids developed that like just don't look like indica or sativa? Like,
Yeah, and I'd imagine, it's pretty rare,
I mean, I
because
want to smoke one of those freaks. Not gonna lie.
um, but it's not gonna be so drastically different, um, that you'd be like, "Oh, wow, that's one," 'cause
I mean, if
they
it's like 50-50, I feel like it's just like it doesn't belong in either. Like if it really just, maybe I'm going overboard with that. Don't
eh,
I'm not a marijuana racist. Okay. All right,
eh,
let's get into some grower kind of questions, right?
mhm,
So when it comes to growing indica and sativa, are there like
mhm.
different like lights needed or like nutrients or like
Um,
that kind of stuff?
so not specific to sativa indica. I mean, there are some differences, like I said before. Sativas tend to grow larger and therefore,
Okay.
have a longer time to grow. Um, so like indicas, because they're shorter and you can keep them shorter, like you can do like between 3 to 6 months, I believe, is most of their grow life. Um,
And does that
where like
change if you're like indoor versus outdoor? I don't know why I'm asking that.
um, it's more perfect indoors, or can be more perfect
Okay.
indoors to a time schedule, where in nature, when you do it outside, it'll kind of go through its stages naturally and be done growing when it's done growing. This applies to both indoor and outdoor, but like because you can have like 24-hour light
Yeah.
indoor, you can kind of force
And
it
that light's
to be
important,
more
right?
on schedule. Yeah.
Okay, that light's the most one of the most important things. That's what I've learned from these discussions so far.
Mhm.
Light's
Yeah, oh,
very
for
important.
for sure. Light's very important.
I'm learning.
And the other big thing is, keeping the environment.
Oh, so
Um,
the environment as far as like indoor versus outdoor, it's pretty much definitive that indoor it would affect it heavily, right? The
yeah.
growing
I mean,
quality
it'll
and
it'll
stuff.
affect it outdoor too, but so like through a plant's life, and you see this in humans as well in a different way, but as it experiences things like wind, um, intense heat, stuff like that, it kind of builds a resistance to it. So, like, with the wind, it'll help it create a stronger stem. That's why, like, indoors, you get a fan to kind of simulate wind. Um, and then certain things like that, so like, and like outdoor ones, I believe, tend to be a little bit more resistant to disease because they're kind of exposed to the elements,
Interesting.
where like indoors, they're pretty, not finicky, but like
They're
they don't
weaker. They're
they
like
don't
they're
get
like
to
house
they don't get
cats.
to build that natural resistance.
They're like the
So
house
it's like
cats now.
really important. Kinda,
Yeah.
it becomes more important indoor to keeping clean environments,
Right.
and maintaining specific conditions.
So then it just this is I guess a little bit out there, but is there like has there always been both indica and sativa as far back as marijuana we know, or like was one first and then from that came another?
Oh. I don't I don't know if there's one that came first. I don't even, to be honest, I don't know if we originally labeled them sativas or indicas, but
True.
I don't know that history of marijuana, unfortunately.
Are there any pure indicas and pure sativas?
Um, I'd imagine it'd be pretty slim to none, because like
So is everything
it would,
technically a hybrid?
in a way, yeah, it could be just like a very small percentage.
Okay. It's
Um,
like
I'd
humans.
imagine I'd imagine most people like wouldn't, if it like leans one way. I'd imagine most people would do it that, unless it was like close to, like, if it's like a 90-10 split, that's
Right.
basically indica.
That makes sense.
Um,
It's almost like I can't even tell the
but
sativa in it.
yeah, but like, once we brought these things from nature, nature tends to not, you know, discriminate against genetic diversity. So
That's true.
I'd imagine everything is technically mixed. It's just primarily one or the other.
And I mean like just as far as like the future goes, will do you think we'll ever get some kind of testing that will be able to do all this? Give us all this information?
Maybe. You'd really first need to create a desire for the information. I don't think.
Oh,
I don't
there's no
think.
desire for this.
Yeah, I don't think it's particularly important enough to people on a large scale that um anyone would really put the time into it.
Wait.
I could be wrong.
Wow.
But like
It's almost because
proving.
it's almost a nascent field as far as like
Mhm,
because what I'm thinking is like I know that it helps some people medically. I know
mhm,
also that recreationally a lot of people love it. So
yeah,
I'm just thinking maybe the medical just wasn't that big of a voice that it affected people, and maybe the recreational one day
yeah.
might. You
You
know?
know what's weird about that? I feel, part of me feels like, I don't know if the medical patients are actually voicing their concern. Like,
Hmm.
I've heard a lot of complaints from medical patients, because like they can't really give them
Is
much
there a place
direction.
to voice your concern though?
I don't know. Maybe
Damn.
the CRC,
Damn. Well,
but
guys,
like
make sure that
they
make sure
they
that you hear them. Make sure
Um,
you listen
um,
to them.
yeah, almost every medical patient gave me like the same story, which was
Sad
like
story, good story.
it's not like well, it's sad in a way, but it's like they basically when they get their medical card, they just get like a little pamphlet, like a one-page pamphlet, back, front and back, and so it doesn't like tell you really how to medicate with marijuana.
I mean,
It
so
tells you like what your options are, like smoking, edibles, blah blah.
I would
But
wonder though, because like I know there's some like there is some like learning curve to being able to ingest or to smoke
Mhm.
and to whatnot. But
Yeah,
other than that, I feel like from one perspective, I'm like a pharmacy doesn't give you more than just the pills, but sometimes
yeah,
they do, and
yeah.
that's the point,
Well, well,
right? Like
yeah.
sometimes
They
they
tell
do.
you how to use
Yeah,
the pills,
exactly. Sometimes
and
they
I
do.
guess
Right?
in a
Yeah.
way that's the same in the cannabis community. But in terms of like actuality, like where terpenes are
And these
presumably what's
patients are a little bit different, right, than just the ones who go to the pharmacy.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
typically they have something specific they're trying to target, and because of what terpenes exist in the strain, that particular
Yeah.
strain may or may not help you. I know at least from some firsthand experience. Someone in my family has a paralyzed stomach,
Wow.
and she uses a specific terpene, um, which I believe is liminal, and it helps her with building an appetite and being able to eat and
Wow.
whatnot. So things like that, like people,
So then
at least in like her case, I could see she liked a very specific strain because it gave, you know, the effect that she was looking to help with her stomach.
so then just like for the people who are working at these, I guess these are medical dispensaries, right? That's where if you're a medical patient you'd go.
Yeah.
Um are the people working there like pharmacists? Like are they cannabis experts maybe?
Um, I'm not a medical patient, so I haven't experienced it firsthand. But based off of what I've heard from people, no, it's they a lot of
Huh.
what they look at is THC percentage, and
So you're telling me they might not even look at the terpenes in these dispensaries when they like try to help
yeah,
patients?
I know a few dispensaries print their terpene profile. I've seen
Okay,
that
that's good.
in recent, which is I think a pretty good step forward.
I think that's amazing.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
But now,
Um,
so wait, do patients understand that the terpenes?
I no, at least from based on my experience, most people probably don't. Most people, um, probably don't even know the word terpene. I'd
Oh
imagine.
no. Oh no. Wait,
At least
that's crazy.
I like I said, I'm in a related industry, so I talk about it a lot with customers, and
So even the customers who smoke it, who
yeah,
have
there's a
it,
lot of them.
like they
Yeah,
won't, like the consumers might not even know about terpenes?
yeah, no, no, it doesn't seem like it's like people that are like heavy into weed are pretty up on it, but like definitely, beginners. I see a lot in the older communities. Um, they they don't know a lick.
Really?
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe it's just me. I thought the older generation was a lot more experienced on weed than us. Simply because, like, there was a time, but there
Yeah,
was harder drugs during that time. But there was a
yeah.
time, okay,
You wanna
when
know
weed
what's
was very
funny?
popular
You
and
wanna know what's
much weaker
go ahead, sorry.
in THC, but very popular. Yeah, you were saying?
You know you wanna know what's funny about that though? A lot of people think that, weed was better back in the day, like,
Right.
but, like, I'd imagine, 1, it's a lot of people's tolerance,
True.
because like, we've actually increased, like, the potency of weed by, like, double to triple depending
Jeez.
on the strain. So like weed is like genuinely
Hard.
mathematically much better now than it was back in the day. Um, so but yeah, it's a lot of people's tolerance. Like once you've been smoking for a while, now the older people they don't really associate that their tolerance goes up, and they kind of a lot of people. I shouldn't even say older people. A lot of people, um, I feel they get their tolerance so high that they have a really hard time distinguishing um like qualities of weed.
Interesting. Well, then I gotta hope that like anyone who's working at a cannabis medical dispensary takes the time to maybe at least identify, what strains, what terpenes are on your strain, so that if
Mm,
customers ask, you might have some answers. I'm hoping they're doing that. Right.
yeah.
That makes sense,
Uh,
right?
yeah, it makes sense. Though it is legally messy, I think, is the
Right.
issue. I don't think
Okay.
you're allowed to really.
Oh, you can't even answer questions on
I
it.
don't think I don't think you're allowed
Oh
to. I think is
god.
the issue.
Oh god.
So I know some dispensaries
But if they're
offer
testing,
education for it. I forget the dispensary off the top of my head, but one of the guys that visited the shop that opened up a dispensary near me, he was talking about how everyone can get access to a bunch of different educational
right? Yeah.
courses on cannabis, specifically on like terpenes and stuff like that.
But
So
but
I'd imagine some of them have the ability to.
but just specifically, like if a dispensary gets like cannabis from a grower or like
Mhm.
someone else, do you think the growers or manufacturers ever hand them over like the terpene profiles?
Oh, of course.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So then like
Yeah,
can
yeah.
can they
I,
like share that with the patient? Like, hey,
yeah. Like I said, I know of dispensaries that print their terpene profile.
okay. So yeah,
So yeah.
at least they can, if they know those they are like submitted to them, then get that like memorized, or make sure that you know them for your patients, because if
Mhm.
patients come asking about certain
Yeah. I
terpenes,
think
you
that
might know.
the more the issue is like I don't think people are allowed to, say this terpene helps out with,
True, right, yeah. But if
and
more so like I on the right, it's a very small case, but on the very small cases of people who do know like the terpenes they
yeah,
need, that's I
yeah,
guess what I was thinking. But yeah, I guess most people don't know, right? They just come with a
yeah,
prescription. I need some
yeah.
XYZ. But okay. So then, this kind of like brings us into this last final topic of like the future of I guess cannabis cultivation. I kind of asked this, but like just again, like will do you think genetic testing can get better? Do you think like it'll get cheaper maybe? Like we'll get some home
Oh,
kits maybe for this stuff?
I'd imagine yes. I don't know for sure, but there might be a home kit available.
Because I feel like
But
that'd be so useful.
yeah. Um, well, actually, probably not for cannabis specific. I mean, there's but I'd imagine if it becomes important to people, where like once see like we're in like the early stages of cannabis, at least on a commercial level. So like now, more information is being sought. So I do think
Right.
eventually it will be. I don't really have like a time scale because it takes time to educate the general public, like a lot of time. I mean everything we're learning. Right now we're in a state where it's like if you're not actively seeking out the information, you'll never come across it.
Do you think the
So
younger generation, because they're maybe more into this product, that they might learn this more? You think that
mm,
maybe this kind of information is more prevalent with our generation?
um I think our generation probably would learn the most. Um
How
I
do you
should
think
say
the next
millennial.
generation will be
I
with marijuana?
see And I don't know because they're an interesting bunch
Oh
from
no.
what I've seen. um and I think it's a thing that comes with age, right? I'm sure, we're a bit rambunctious uh to
I'm
the
seeing a
older
lot of quiet
generation.
kids too. I'm seeing a lot of like socially awkward kids, not quiet
Yeah, I've
kids.
seen a lot of socially awkward,
Very
but I'm
weird.
also specifically the ones that, partake in activities such as marijuana. Um, they they just seem a lot more reckless than
Okay.
like we were. Like they're really, I think, with the coming of understanding of THC and and different potencies. Um, when you're in that stage of life, you're much more prone to like just want to go after the most potent thing.
That
Um,
makes sense. And these
uh,
younger kids, they like the way I'm seeing it today is it's all of it about being like showing off to a degree. And
yeah,
to that one of the aspects of showing off is getting something more concentrated, getting bigger,
yeah,
smoking
getting the
bigger.
best weed, whatever. So I
Yeah.
think you know, I'd hope there's a subsection of the community that wants to further um the knowledge that is available in cannabis, but um I mean, you just gotta let them grow up and see what happens. Um, Personally, it feels, and I'm hearing it a lot. It feels like the kids are, like you said, they're pretty timid. Um, which might, in my opinion, kind of like stunt educational pursuit in cannabis a bit. But I think as long as you got good teachers, good elders, trying to push it. I think there will always be, a community to fall in line.
Yeah. I'm hoping because I know
Yeah.
like people are worried sometimes about like legalizing marijuana. Personally, I'm not worried. I truly think the effects in a broad sense are well
Mhm.
maintained in our, policed environment. But
Yeah.
in the long term, I do think that the generations experience things like this much differently. So I have no
Yeah.
idea. How maybe some of them won't experience it well. You know,
Yeah. Uh, Yeah. I think
maybe it'll set
it,
some of
it
their heads
is.
back straight. Maybe maybe
Yeah.
maybe
It
some of
is
them
a.
were split and now it'll set them straight.
Yeah. It
Who
is a
knows?
double-edged sword. Cause like when you really get into weed, like I said, the terpenes tend to actually show you why you would like a particular strain. So I think you know it come we as like a community need to kind of bring forth the more like educational side of weed where like a lot of people are in kind of like it's party phase for it.
Yeah, very true. And I think when we have discussions like this, we like it's good to focus on some like the genetics, the nuances, the science behind a lot of this, and not just the high. Like we are grow the high. We talk about the high too, but we also talk about the growing, right?
Hmm.
And I think if people started taking a more analytical approach to this, then maybe they wouldn't get so caught up in just the pure uh I guess we'll call it enjoyment of it, because I do worry sometimes that they just use it as a drug rather than understanding the whole picture, because it actually does matter, right? What
Oh
we
yeah,
learn.
it's very very important. I do agree. I do find a lot of people tend to kind of like idolize it. Um
That's a good,
and
yeah, that's a good way to put it.
which I'm with you to a certain degree. I love the stuff. I'm a user. But like like any substance, anything in general that you ingest, right? Moderation is key. You can't let it be like the main factor.
Yeah. Well, TJ, we have talked for well over 35 minutes. I hope these guys have stuck around. Um, so again, thanks for tuning in. If you found this helpful, please leave a comment. Tell us what you thought. Share this. Don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you uh, hit the notification bell and check out the discussions playlist because this is where we're going to be uploading more of these. If you want new content, remember hit the bell. Drop any questions, and yeah, we'll see you again next time. Happy growing.
Happy growing.